All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Happy winter holidays. Uh, it's the final week of school. It's final exam time starting tomorrow. So high stress for a lot of us. But we're in the start of the season, so things are looking good. And I've got some league stats to share with you. So this is all valid as of today. I forgot to change my date. But everything is all good as of today. We have 51 teams. We have 364 licensed coaches. We're up 75 from the last time we talked. That's 79 female. We've added 16 female coaches since the last coaches call. 285 male coaches. That's up 59 from the last time. We have increased our riders that are registered. We have 653 registered riders. We're up 201 from the last time we talked, which was kind of right at the beginning of registration. And we have 298 high school and we have 355 middle school. We've added 61 high schoolers and 140 middle schoolers. We still don't break out middle school and fifth grade since that's a pilot program. So curious to see how many of those are fifth grade, but we will hopefully endeavor to get that later on. But big news is we are up 773 and a quarter TTC hours in 1 month. So we have at this point 1,258.25 TTC hours. So if you remember last season, our initial goal was 2,000. We upped that to 3,000. We ended up with 4,000. So here we are at the beginning of December or mid December, and we have 1,258. So we are well on our way to having a lot of TTC hours this season. Some important dates for everyone. If you are a head coach or team director of a team that is part of the fifth grade inclusion pilot program, your first check-in survey is now due. The link is here. The link that I shared originally wasn't working for some reason, but this link is working. So you can get that link there. Please get that completed by December 20th, which is this Friday. Saturday, there will be an OTBS 101 in Onslow County. Those head coaches of area teams, I believe Pitt and Cape Fear, they have both been sent the registration link. So, kind of to explain to everyone sort of what's going on, this year we expanded our coach supporters to include some team based coach supporters on our larger teams. And so these teams are able to run OTBS 101s kind of in the season on their own. They coordinate that with me. The caveat still exists that everyone needs to have first aid prior to registering for OTBS 101. But this is a good way for those larger teams to sort of kind of take over and get a few more of their coaches leveled up. And so we're working that this season, see how that goes, see what needs to be improved, see what needs to be maybe changed. And we will be kind of implementing that wider across the league as teams get bigger so that we can get more level two coaches. The WFA CPR OTBS 101 training weekend that was rescheduled from the one that was originally delayed because of Hurricane Helene, January 4th and 5th, that is sold out. So we are at full capacity for the WFA CPR and the OTBS 101. We are currently working with Watauga teams. They are working to have a WFA and OTBS 101. Stay tuned for some details as we get that. They will, of course, have the first seats available, and then any seats that are remaining will be opened up to others in the league, starting with area coaches first. And then other big news for this evening, January 17th and 18th, we are back with the coach retreat in Old Fort. Old Fort and Camp Greer have said that they can accommodate us. They actually will be welcoming us. We will be kind of a big thing and the only thing going on at the time. It's kind of their downtime, but most, if not all, of the trails are open, and more are getting opened as we speak, but all of the main ones are open. And so we are going to continue forward with the coach retreat January 17th and 18th. Anyone who was already registered, your registrations are fine. No need for you to do anything different. There is the registration link there so that you can go ahead and get registered. And there is still the lodging options and all of that sort of thing. So go ahead and get registered. If you are already registered, but for some reason that is just not a date that you are going to be able to make, please reach out to me via email, and I can coordinate with you on getting a refund for that so that we can get that taken care of for you. All right. To move forward with the news and main topic for this evening, kind of first off is the competition event dates and locations have been published. You received that in an email, but if you are a listener of the Grit podcast, you got that way earlier before we released it to the rest of the league. We did a podcast takeover this month with the Grit podcast not only being published to their feed, but also to our NC NICA feed. And they now have their own channel, or not channel, but own part of our YouTube channel. So you can check out the NC Grit podcast on our YouTube channel and kind of see all the great things that those female student athletes have going on. It's pretty cool, and I'm pretty proud of them. They are putting Brian and I to shame, to be perfectly honest. So by all means, check that out and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, or check it out on our YouTube channel. All right. Did anyone have any questions or information that they would like to know about the league schedule for competition events? All right, Jeff LeBlanc.
Sorry, Sean. I was a couple of minutes late there, and I missed the Onslow County 101. If anybody had any questions or anything on that, or it's all good to go.
I think everything's good to go. You've reached out to those head coaches, so hopefully you will get some more takers on that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
No problem. All right. Notice that with the competition events that there are 3 rain dates. 2 of them are for the regular season races, and 1 is a rain date for the state championship. So we're doing everything we can to try and have, for the first time ever in this league, 5 races in the regular season and a state championship without anything being canceled. So fingers crossed. Notice that Dark Mountain's not on there because that was always guaranteed for a storm if we included Dark Mountain, but we are kind of perilously close by going to Blue Ridge Ranch, which kudos to Ben Harbor. He kind of magically got a venue to appear out of thin air. So pretty excited about that. All right. Yes. Sorry about that, Elise. I did do my dates wrong. It is January 18th and 19th. Correct. So I have teacher brain right now. I've been doing lots of grading and making final exams. So my apologies. All right. The other thing that I wanted to kind of open up for is a team snap discussion and any questions that people have, especially our newer coaches. So one thing that I want to kind of let you know is we don't archive the season like a lot of other leagues do with Team Snap. So what we do is we just kind of rename the existing season, so that way you're not having to recreate your teams every time. Like if we archived, you would kind of start from scratch with an empty team and have to invite everybody in. So by doing that, it gives you a lot more a lot less work to do, and you just need to add new people and delete people that are no longer involved. So with that being said, like I've had some questions come up and I've tried to help people as best as possible. But if anyone has a question or a concern or anything like that with TeamSnap, now would be a great time to bring that up because it could probably benefit the league in general. It would be nice if TeamSnap sent a text notification. So it does on the app. So if you do the app, there is a way to do that. But there isn't a way for like the league level for us to send a text notification on TeamSnap. All we can do from the league level is like email everybody all at once. And you've seen us do that a couple of times with like sending emails via TeamSnap. But yeah, it doesn't allow for that mass text notification. You can do that at the team level though. So kind of take a look at that with the different things between messages, alerts, and all that kind of stuff.
Hey, Sean, it's
Yes.
Diane Bush. I have a
Yes.
question. So there have been times in the past where we have like created a second event location at this, like it was the same place we always go, but we ended up with a second entry for it, and I cannot figure out how to make them go away. Is there make them a way to get rid of them?
Yeah, you can go into, you have to do it on the website. So sign in on the computer and go to locations and you can edit locations. And I think there's a place there where you can delete a location that you're not using anymore.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. So one thing that I've noticed is like we've got all the competition event dates in now and their locations. And I see a couple of teams like they create their own competition event. And that's something that you don't really need to do. You can do all the things you would normally do, like who's coming. You can do assignments. You can coordinate all of that using the event created by the league. You don't have to create one separately in order to do all of that stuff. So that's something for you to think about so that you don't have a lot of clutter in your account. Let's see. Is there a place to verify our info? For some reason, I'm not receiving emails. Um, so that is interesting question. So as far as this meeting is concerned, what I did was the last night I pulled the latest coaches roster from Pit Zone and I uploaded everyone's email addresses to Iterable. So I've got my own list going now. So that should have captured your email, provided you were a registered coach yesterday, which I doubt you weren't. Um, but other than that, I'm not sure. Iterable is a bit weird and funky, and Nika is actually moving away from Iterable. We haven't gotten the replacement yet, but hopefully in the future you will get these emails. So reach out to me on in an email, Sean at northcarolinamtb.org, and I'll kind of manually go in and look and make sure that you are represented on the list. Great question, though. All right. Hopefully, TeamSnap's pretty easy for everybody. Hopefully, it's something that teams are utilizing and finding useful and helpful. Kind of moving forward, team registration and team proposal forms. So there are a couple of teams that still don't have team proposal forms in. That is something that needs to be done in order for us to take a look at before we have sanctioned your team. Remember that you can't hold practices until your team has been sanctioned in Pit Zone. So if you haven't filed a team proposal form, there's the link. Go ahead and get that filled in ASAP. And Brian and I are going to be looking at those this week and getting all that taken care of. As far as student athletes, I do want to point out the loaner bike form. We haven't had a lot of requests for loaner bikes, and Brian has been working to get a few other options available besides just loaner bikes that I think are much better for long-term sustainability of a student athlete on your team. So rather than them borrowing a bike, there are some pretty interesting options for them to buy a bike for a really dramatically reduced price. So that could really help them out. And Brian has more information that he reaches out to the parents whenever that form is filed to give them those options. And then the other thing that I want head coaches and team directors to start really thinking about is those category placement petitions. Those are something that typically we start to see a rush of before competition season really gets started, like a couple of weeks before. But it's not too early to kind of get started with that now if you have a student athlete that you've been working with. I do want to point you to the web page where all of those resources live, because there's the competition category placement tables that provide you with a lot of information. So you can look at a student athlete and go, well, what if they were in like JV1 or varsity, like where would they place? And it gives a very accurate prediction of kind of where they would be based on their historical race data. So something for you to consider if you have a student athlete who's just chomping at the bit to kind of upgrade, you can take a look and go have that conversation with them of like, well, prediction wise, like you're probably going to be mid to back of pack if you go up, but if you stay in the category you're in, you're probably going to be one of the more competitive racers. So it's kind of your call. And that provides you with some data to kind of go by. Is there any question about those category placement petitions? I know it seems a little early. Some teams are not even started their practices yet. All right. Well, with that being said, just a reminder that the coach retreat is on. And as Elise rightfully pointed out, it is the 18th and 19th. So please join us at Camp Greer for the 18th and 19th. And now I will open the floor up to you. So if there's anything that is a concern or something that you just feel like needs to be discussed, by all means, now is a perfect time to bring that up.
Sean, do you mind if I ask a question about the coach retreat?
Not at all.
So I have a conference I'm supposed to be at like all week long, and I really want to be at the retreat, but if I like came on Sunday instead of like what is can you give us like a recap on what a coach retreat even I've never obviously this is my first season, so I don't know what to even think about what we're going to be doing there really.
Yeah. So this one is going to primarily center on adventure. And so what we're going to do Saturday morning, we'll have some kind of 1 hour long sessions. It'll be different things. And that leads us into the afternoon session. In the afternoon session, we are going to talk about planning a adventure ride. And then this is sort of going to be an experiential learning process. So what we're going to ask is that everyone kind of look at maps of the area and then kind of decide on a route that they want to do for an adventure ride and then go do it. And I've got some notebooks for everybody to take notes as they're doing their ride, considerations to think about as they're doing the adventure ride, and then come back that Saturday afternoon, kind of do a kind of a mild little debrief, but nothing major. And then Sunday morning, we'll really dive into, now that we've ridden it, what are the things that we would do in order to plan our adventure ride. And then we'll end Sunday around 11:30ish lunchtime and be done.
So if I'm flying back on Saturday morning from Dallas, it's probably not a good opportunity. Probably just should rule the weekend out then and
unfortunately not. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay.
Encourage one of your other coaches to come.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Jeff LeBlanc, you have your hand.
Yeah, Sean. Us coming from the east, that's a 5.5, 6 hour drive. I take it we can check in on Friday. And at what's the earliest time we can check in on Friday?
That's a fantastic question. And Brian has been our kind of point liaison with Camp Greer. And so, Brian, are you able to chime in on that?
I can say yes on Friday check-in. I'm not sure how early. We'll follow up with Camp Greer, how early we can get in there. But yes on a Friday. For that exact reason, Jeff.
Yeah, I know it won't be too early. Like I said, it's a 6 hour drive. So even if we leave in the morning, we're not getting there till the afternoon. So, but yeah, a time would be good, but I would expect we'd be there, roughly dinner time or whatever.
And for anybody coming in on Friday, Hillman Brewing is open. That's one of the restaurants in Camp Greer. I don't know about the others, but there are some eating options in Camp or in Old Fort, excuse me, that you will be able to take advantage of. All right. Other questions or discussion points?
Hey, Sean, this is Chris Novak. So we have, luckily, a bunch of fifth graders that have joined us this year. And we have a full range, to say the least, of bike sizes that people are riding. And some of them don't quite hit the 26-inch mark. So I see that you can petition for a smaller bike size. Can you say more about that? And I have no experience with that whatsoever, so I'm just curious how that kind of works.
So for fifth grade, the guidance is 24-inch is allowable. Kind of knowing that they're small people. And so you don't need to do a petition for a fifth grader to do 24-inch. If you do have like a sixth grader or up, really all it is just email me and Brian and let us know what, who the student athlete is and what the reason is for a 24. The main thing is just making sure that the student is on the appropriate sized bike. And so that's, I think, the kind of the basis for that is the idea that usually by sixth grade, they've outgrown a 24-inch wheeled bike, but you do have exceptions to the rule. So just email Brian and myself, and that's all that really, there's nothing more formal than that.
Great. Yeah, we're super fresh. So we had our first practice. We're going to have our second practice, but we have some fifth graders that are on 24s for sure, and we have a sixth grader that's also not any taller than a fifth grader. So yeah, we just want to make sure that we can kind of make it work for everybody. And I have no idea if these kids are going to be like, yes, I want to race, or absolutely not. But we're just trying to get ahead of that so we can advise parents to get the right size bike and that kind of thing. So
yeah, that's not a problem. If that is truly the appropriate sized bike, then by all means, just give us an email. I see Sarah has a question about full face helmets allowed for racing this season. So the NICA rule book has changed. I don't know if it's going to change again, but as of last season, there was no real language about full face helmets not being allowed. One thing that we do want to make sure is that the problem with full face helmets is hydration. So if a student athlete is racing with a full face helmet, they need to be wearing a CamelBak so that they can drink while they race. You can't drink safely out of a bottle with a full face helmet on as you ride. So that would be my only guidance. There is no need to ask for permission anymore and file a petition like there used to be. That may change though as the handbook changes sometime in the middle of our season. So stay tuned and I'll kind of send out guidance if I see anything like that. Yeah, no problem. All right. Other questions?
Quick question, Sean. Jeff
Yes.
LeBlanc here. I'm looking at the agenda here, and it talks about submitting our first check-in survey by December 20th for the fifth grade pilot program.
Yes. Okay. You missed that whenever we were talking about it.
Okay. Yes, I did. I'm sorry. So what do we need there?
So click on that form and fill it out before Friday. If you have fifth graders that you are including on your team, which I know you are,
Yep.
and it's just a check-in.
Okay,
It's
I'm
just
not
some of
seeing a
that
form
data
on
that,
here.
what's that?
I'm not seeing a place to click on for a form on here.
If you go up here, I'll show you. If you scroll up to here,
Okay,
there's a link right there.
all right, got it. Thanks.
No problem. All right. Other questions? Points of discussion? I'm doing my very long high school teacher pause, knowing that inevitably, as soon as I say, okay, thank you, as soon as I say that, someone's going to be like, oh, I have a question. All right. So, all right. Well, with that being said, thank you very much for joining us this evening. And if you have any other questions you want to ask offline, you can always email me or Brian, and we'll be happy to help. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining us, and I will see all of you in the new year.
Thanks, Sean.
Yes, Greg.
That was it. Just thank you.
Oh, no problem. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.